When it's time for school, do you want your bus drivers taking care of your children or driving the man in charge?
Tonight, hundreds of pages of internal documents are raising new questions about whether Metro Schools director Dr. Shawn Joseph put his needs above the needs of the city's children.
News Channel 5 chief investigative reporter Phil Williams went digging for answers.
It's a bus driver shortage. That's what we've been told.
For Christy Proctor's family, Nashville's shortage of school bus drivers means they're never quite sure what time their children will get home. Messages on the neighborhood Facebook page tell the story.
FYI, 276-277 hasn't even arrived at Gower yet to load up kids at 3:21. 3:47 bus just arrived. The kids have started getting home later and later, and they're picked up in the morning later and later, and we just never know what time they're going to get home.
For her middle school kids, it's often right at dark, sometimes later.
One of the things we have strived to do is be out amongst our schools.
2 years ago, News Channel 5 Investigates first raised questions about Metro Schools Director Dr. Shawn Joseph's use of a school bus driver to chauffeur him around town, waiting and waiting while Joseph did his business. It's an issue that resurfaced in the fall.
Does Dr. Joseph still have the driver? If so, how much is this driver?
When new school board member Fran Bush pressed the schools director on the use of that driver.
Using a bus driver that is taken away from bus routes, it's inappropriate. It's inappropriate because our children are suffering.
This driver does assist me at times, and we've talked about that.
Why should the needs of the children not come first?
The needs of the children absolutely come first.
But we obtained this text message where the driver asked his boss to let dispatch know he would not be driving students on a morning when he was driving the director.
Your needs came before the children.
So you're giving me a text message that I haven't seen, and I don't know the context of it.
Your staff gave it to us.
Yeah, that's not, but I'm just saying I don't have context.
His staff also gave us other records showing example after example of the school bus driver coming to Joseph's house first thing in the morning to get behind the wheel of the director's Tahoe and chauffeur him to breakfast appointments and early morning meetings. To get there, the driver needed a driver.
Someone has to bring the driver, if it was in the morning, to pick me up. Someone brought him to my home, and this is a salaried employee who doesn't make any extra. He just brings him where the car is.
So your driver had a driver. That's not a very good use of taxpayer resources, is it?
No, it's efficient.
I've never seen anything like this where you already have a driver, but then you have a driver to take the driver somewhere. That to me is, once again, is negligent.
One morning for an 8 o'clock breakfast here at Monell's, a half a mile from the school board offices, Joseph met with former school board candidate Erica Lanier. The school bus driver and his driver were directed to go to Joseph's house to drive him to breakfast. While Joseph ate, the driver waited to chauffeur the director 2 minutes back down the road to his office.
You know, there might be instances where I've had meetings, but it's not where he would necessarily drive me, so I'd have to check your facts on that one.
Remember, those are instructions prepared by his own assistant. Another morning when Joseph was starting his day here at McGavock High, where his son attends, the driver was instructed, pick him up at home at 6:15. You will be driving he and his son to McGavock.
There is a time that you can drive yourself. There's a time that you can spend time, driving your son to school. You don't have to have a driver for that.
Well, I didn't take my son to school that day.
The memo says he rode with you.
The memo would be inaccurate then. My son has never been in the car with me and a driver.
On a few days, the driver's instructions show he was taking the director to an optometrist, to a doctor, to physical therapy. And payroll records show the driver got paid on at least 5 weekend days for driving Dr. Joseph. On one of those dates, Saturday, April the 7th of last year, Joseph was attending a fraternity event in Franklin.
The driver did not work on that day. That's inaccurate. So
Why do we have payroll records showing he was paid for that day?
I'd ask you to clarify those payroll records because he definitely did not drive me to the CAPA meeting.
This is very alarming for me to see this, that we have hours logged and the superintendent saying, don't worry about that. No, that's not true. It didn't happen. No, it did happen. It's in black and white that it happened.
There were also days that the bus driver was assigned to drop Joseph off at the airport when he was heading out of town, with instructions like this one to staff saying his car needs to be back on Sunday by 2 p.m. Joseph says it was usually a supervisor who brought his Tahoe back to the airport to avoid parking fees.
You won't find anybody more focused on not using taxpayer dollars inappropriately than me.
Would you agree that if you're going on vacation, you should pay for parking or you should Uber?
Without question, and I do.
But we found multiple airport assignments where Joseph's calendar listed no official business, or in some cases showed he was taking vacation days for those trips.
There's never been a time where I've been on actual vacation where I've just been dropped off and picked up. That I'm sure if I've gone to go somewhere on the weekend, it was because there was some work involved there where they dropped the car off.
So the records are bogus?
What records?
Your record showing that you were on vacation.
Yeah, I would have to look.
I don't understand why we're stuck on the driver. I really don't.
While School Board Chair Sharon Gentry recently said she doesn't see the big deal, with questions being raised about Joseph's conduct amid a bus driver shortage, he's suddenly promising changes.
As we looked at our practices, we made sure with the bus shortage that we make sure that anyone who could be driving a bus is driving a bus, and we're doing that now.
It's about time that you finally realize how much more we need our bus drivers to be doing their job and being there for our students.
Still, with the discrepancy between how Joseph says he's used the driver and the district's own records, Fran Bush says something more is needed.
And I clearly think that at this point, learning about this information, we need to open up an investigation.
Phil Williams, News Channel 5 Investigates.
Dr. Joseph and his supporters have suggested that his predecessor, Dr. Jesse Register, also had a driver. Tonight, Register is speaking out saying, quote, "I always drove myself." You can read his statement online right now at newschannel5.com.